first one was Swing Shift. So we did that, and we met there, we fell in love, and then we got together, and we had a baby.
At 79, Goldie Hawn's life looks like a fairy tale from the outside. The timeless smile, the unforgettable movies, the decades-long partnership that defied Hollywood odds, all of it paints the picture of a dream. But behind the sparkle lies a story of heartbreak, betrayal, and moments she thought might break her for good. For years, she endured public criticism from the men she once loved, the sting of a scandal that left her questioning everything, and the constant fear that happiness could vanish overnight. Through all the highs and devastating lows, there was only one man who saw her completely, flaws, scars, and all, and loved her anyway. And for Goldie, that made all the difference before the fairy tale. Goldie Jean Hawn was born on November 21, 1945, in Washington, D.C., into a household that mixed discipline, artistry, and loss. Her father, Edward Hawn, was a band musician and conductor with English and German roots, descended from Edward Rutledge, the youngest signer of the Declaration of Independence. Her mother, Laura, was a Jewish shop owner who also ran a dance school, having immigrated from Hungary with her family. Goldie grew up in Tacoma Park, Maryland, in a Jewish household alongside her sister, Patty. The girls never met their older brother, Edward Jr., who had died in infancy before Patty was born, a quiet family tragedy that lingered in the background. By age 3, Goldie was already dancing, taking ballet and tap lessons with a natural ease. At 10, she performed in the Nutcracker with the ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, an early glimpse of the stage presence that would one day make her famous. By 1964, she was performing in Romeo and Juliet and even running her own ballet school, having dropped out of college where she studied drama. She made her professional dancing debut in Cancan at the Texas Pavilion during the New York World's Fair, later working as a go-go dancer in clubs across New York and New Jersey. Hollywood noticed. In 1968, she became a breakout star on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, her quick wit, radiant smile, and comedic timing making her an audience favorite. Just a year later, her role in Cactus Flower earned her an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress. From there, the hits kept coming: Butterflies Are Free, Shampoo, Private Benjamin, Overboard, The First Wives Club. But while her career soared, her personal life was turbulent, marked by 2 marriages that ended painfully, each leaving scars she couldn't hide. Her first marriage to dancer Gus Triconis began in 1969. But as Goldie's fame exploded, their lives drifted apart. Gus struggled to find work while she became one of Hollywood's most in-demand stars. They separated in 1973 but didn't finalize their divorce until 1976. Just weeks later, she married musician Bill Hudson. Together they had 2 children, Oliver and Kate, but the marriage quickly unraveled. Hudson filed for divorce in 1980, later accusing Goldie of being manipulative and of shutting him out of their children's lives. The bitterness lingered for decades. By the early 1980s, Goldie was a twice-divorced single mother, publicly criticized by her ex-husbands and unsure if lasting love was even possible. Then came the unexpected second meeting. Goldie Hawn first met Kurt Russell in 1966 on the set of the one and only, genuine, original Family Band. She was 21, already a working actress, and he was just 16, a boy accompanied by his mother on set. The age gap was enough for both of them to know nothing could happen, but the impression lingered. "I thought he was adorable," Goldie later admitted in a 2012 interview. But he was much too young for his part. Kurt remembered her energy immediately. "You couldn't miss her," he told Variety decades later. "She just had this light." 17 years passed before their paths crossed again. By 1983, both had been through divorces. Goldie was raising Oliver and Kate on her own, while Kurt was in the middle of separating from actress Susan Hubley, the mother of his son, Boston. Neither was looking for love. In fact, both were emotionally unavailable, each wary of commitment after the wreckage of failed marriages. It was during Kurt's audition for the World War II romantic drama Swing Shift that fate stepped back in. He was feeling rough that day, having been out the night before with his father, and he walked into the room hungover. The first thing that came out of his mouth wasn't a line from the script, but a blunt, unfiltered remark, "Man, you got a great figure." By most standards, it was the worst possible pick-up line, inappropriate, ill-timed, and completely unpolished. Kurt later admitted he was putting his worst foot forward on purpose. If you can handle that, he thought, maybe there's a chance of something real. Goldie didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled and replied, "Why, thank you." That moment cracked the ice wide open. They went on their first date soon after, an evening that began at the Playboy Club and ended with an unexpected twist, breaking into a house Goldie had just bought but didn't yet have the keys for. As they wandered through the empty rooms, the night turned unexpectedly intimate until the police arrived, forcing them to leave and finish the evening at a hotel. That chaotic, imperfect night set the tone for their relationship, unplanned, unconventional, and somehow exactly right for them. For Goldie, there was an even bigger test ahead. It wasn't just about her. She had 2 young children whose trust and comfort mattered more than any romantic spark. And it was watching Kurt with Oliver and Kate that changed everything. He wasn't just charming her, he was earning a place in her family, building a family. By the time filming on Swing Shift wrapped, Goldie Hawn had seen enough to know Kurt Russell was different. The turning point wasn't in romantic gestures or grand declarations, but in the quiet way he treated her children. On set, Oliver and Kate were never background to him. He knelt to their level, listened when they spoke, and made them laugh without trying too hard. He was amazing with them, Goldie later recalled. He was such a natural. For a woman who had been burned twice before, that mattered more than anything. She'd learned the hard way that charm could be fleeting, but genuine care for her children was something you couldn't fake. Kurt had a son of his own, Boston, from his marriage to season Hubley, so he understood the importance of building trust slowly. In those early months, they weren't just dating, they were blending 2 households into one. In July 1986, their family expanded again with the birth of Wyatt Russell. By then, they had already settled into a rhythm that outsiders rarely saw: school drop-offs, birthday parties, long dinners at home. Hollywood might have been fascinated by the glamorous couple, but their real life revolved around 4 kids and the effort it took to raise them in the glare of the public eye. It wasn't all easy. Over the years, there were whispers about their independence from each other and even moments when they seemed to drift apart. The most painful test came in November 2000, when Kurt was photographed leaving a massage parlor with a questionable reputation. The story spread quickly, and although they didn't break up, the fallout left a mark. Friends said Goldie was furious and devastated, her ego crushed by the headlines. She never publicly addressed it in detail, but insiders claimed she never fully forgot that moment, a reminder that even in a long partnership, trust can be shaken. Still, they stayed together, choosing to work through the damage rather than walk away. They built their relationship on a different kind of foundation than marriage could offer. As Goldie explained years later, they woke up each morning and made the conscious decision to stay, and not because a legal contract bound them, but because they wanted to. It was a choice that, despite the bumps, kept them moving forward, choosing love over marriage. For decades, fans and journalists have asked the same question: why haven't Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell ever married? In Hollywood, where breakups are as common as red carpet premieres, their 40-plus years together without a wedding ring have always been a curiosity. Goldie has never shied away from her answer. It's not about avoiding commitment, but about protecting the relationship from the weight of legal ties. In interviews, she's been blunt: a lasting relationship isn't about marriage, she told Porter magazine in 2015. It's about compatibility and communication, and you both need to want it to work. For her, marriage often changes the dynamic, introducing expectations and resentments that can erode the connection. She described her ideal partnership as 2 pillars holding up the house and the roof, being different, not having to agree on everything, learning how to deal with not agreeing. But there's a darker side to her reasoning, one shaped by the pain of her past divorces. In a 2023 interview with CNN, Goldie didn't sugarcoat it. When it doesn't work out, it ends up to be big business. How many divorces are fun? How many don't cost money? How many don't make you hate the person more? How many haven't hurt children? For her, avoiding marriage wasn't about dodging love. It was about sidestepping. The fallout she'd already lived through twice had left its mark. Kurt has echoed the sentiment. In 2023, he told Variety that early in their relationship, they asked their kids how they felt about the idea of marriage. None of them cared. "Why does anybody care about that?" he said. That was enough for them to stop the conversation right there. Instead of rings and vows, they've marked their years together in other ways, raising 4 children, surviving scandals, building a home, and becoming grandparents. They've walked countless red carpets side by side, supported each other's careers, and weathered the kind of storms that often end celebrity relationships. For Goldie, the strength lies in knowing that every day they're together is because they choose it, not because they're bound to it. This decision has become so central to their story that it's almost inseparable from their image as a couple. But while it's worked for them, it hasn't made them immune to real-life challenges, including moments that tested not only their bond but their sense of safety. When home wasn't safe anymore. By late 2023, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell had already faced their share of personal challenges, but nothing prepared them for the shock of realizing their home was no longer a safe place. It began one evening when they left their Los Angeles house for dinner. They were gone for only a couple of hours, but when Goldie returned to her closet, her heart sank. The door had been smashed in. Not just any door, but a secure, reinforced one. Jewelry and valuables were gone, taken by intruders who had broken in through the balcony and entered their bedroom. Goldie later recalled the moment on Kelly Ripa's podcast. "I walked into my closet and just lost it." The precision of the break-in convinced her the burglars were highly skilled professionals who knew exactly what they were doing. She thought the ordeal was over, but just 4 months later, it happened again. This time, while she was home alone, she remembered hearing a loud thump upstairs and brushed it off at first, thinking it might have been something outside. The next morning, she and Kurt discovered that someone had tried to break in again. The realization hit her hard. They had been targeted twice in less than half a year. It was no longer just about stolen items, it was about personal safety. From that moment, Goldie refused to be in the house alone without a guard present. "I'm never without a guard now," she said. The couple decided to take a bigger step. They left their Malibu home behind, relocating to Palm Desert, more than 2 hours inland. For them, the move meant giving up the proximity to their children and grandchildren. But the risk no longer felt worth it. Even in Palm Desert, Goldie admitted that the trauma stayed with her. The sense of violation, of strangers crossing the threshold of their most private space, was something she couldn't simply shake off. But as she has done throughout her life, she faced the fear with Kurt at her side. Proof that while they might choose not to marry, they had always chosen to stand together when it mattered most. The man who matched her heart. For all the twists, scandals, and tests their relationship has endured, Goldie Hawn has never wavered on one truth: Kurt Russell is the only man who could make her feel the way he does. In April 2024, speaking on the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, she shared the moment she realized it. It wasn't about his looks, though she found him handsome. It wasn't about charm or Hollywood success. It was about something deeper, something she valued above all else: devotion to family. It wasn't just because he was handsome and all of those things you get turned on by, she said. It was because he matched my devotion to children. For Goldie, that was non-negotiable. She had Oliver and Kate from her marriage to Bill Hudson, and she wasn't going to let just anyone into their lives. But Kurt didn't just step into the role, he embraced it. He was as committed to her kids as he was to his own son, Boston, and later to their son, Wyatt. This shared priority created what she calls elasticity in their relationship, the ability to bend without breaking, to stretch when life pulls in different directions, and to always snap back together. Goldie is candid about the realities of long-term love, even the uncomfortable parts. In September 2024, she told E! News that monogamy can be challenging, especially in Hollywood. "You're in the prime of your life. You are attracted to other people potentially," she admitted. But that doesn't mean you act on those feelings. For them, the key has been openness. They talk about these things. They acknowledge what's real instead of pretending it doesn't exist. That honesty, Goldie believes, is one reason they've lasted more than 4 decades when so many celebrity couples have crumbled. By 2025, they had been together for over 41 years. On March 2nd of that year, they attended the Oscars together, Goldie in a bright yellow Dolce & Gabbana gown and Kurt in a classic black tuxedo, looking every bit the Hollywood royalty they've become. But for all the glamour, the real story was simpler, the way they looked at each other after all these years. When asked about their time together, Kurt's answer was as unvarnished as the line that started it all: "I just love the fact that we met and we are still doing it. We still like being together." They've weathered divorces, blended families, public embarrassments, break-ins, and the slow changes of age. Through it all, Goldie has kept that same conclusion: he's the one who matched her heart, and for her, that's worth more than any wedding ring. Their story isn't perfect. It was never meant to be. But maybe that's why it's lasted. They've stayed together not because they had to, but because they chose to, over and over again. What's your favorite Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell moment, on screen or in real life? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time for more stories from Hollywood's most fascinating lives.